This is one of a series of 5 videos in the Buddhism unit, and you can watch these videos in any order you'd like. Just make sure you watch all 5 of them. This particular one is concerned about the streams of Buddhism. It's not really about history, it's about recognizing the varieties and how we got to that. We go all the way back to Siddhartha, of course, who was born sometime around 623 BCE and then died about 80 years later, so in the 540s sometime. And Siddhartha left behind something that you might have called Buddhism. We just don't know exactly what it was that Siddhartha left. There are a lot of different groups that claim that they have what Siddhartha left behind, his teaching in its pure form in some sense, but we have no way to prove that. So there's a window of about 250 years or so between Siddhartha's death in 543 and the time we get to Ashoka in about the year 300. Well, even further than that. About the year 260, Ashoka was a Hindu king. And he was a powerful Hindu king. He had risen and he had unified an entire empire that was almost as large as what India is today. And the last piece of that was a place called Kalinga. But in the process of adding Kalinga to the empire, Ashoka had fought a very bloody battle. It is said that over 100,000 people died and 150,000 people were displaced, became refugees as a result of his war. And as soon as he had won the battle and he saw the destruction, it cut him to the quick. And he had Buddhist counselors who began to speak to him about the way of non-injury, ahimsa, in Buddhism. And over the course of a couple of years, he listened. And what makes Ashoka so powerful is that he became the first Buddhist emperor, and he created something of an army of Buddhist missionaries. And he sent them outward with this Buddhist message. And they went to the west, and they went as far as Afghanistan, the Central Asian republics, all the way, even perhaps as far as Syria. And in the east, he sent them all around the Bay of Bengal, from Sri Lanka, the island that's at the bottom of the Indian subcontinent, all the way around through Bangladesh and Burma and Thailand and inward to Cambodia and Laos. And then it seems that he even sent missionaries as far as China across the way. So Buddhism spread dramatically. If it weren't for Ashoka, Buddhism would have perhaps remained something like Jainism, a little pocket of Indian religion. But with Ashoka, Buddhism became the largest religion in the world. After Ashoka, as Buddhism spread in these places, we'll call that Buddhism, by the way, Theravada, the teaching of the elders. We do not know if that was the original Buddhism. We just know that's the oldest one that we know about. So Theravada is the tradition of Southeast Asia today. But when it came to China, Theravada didn't fit so well, because Theravada said there's no self. And that is literally, there's nothing about me that I can call myself. I take me apart with all my components and there's nothing left. It's just smoke and mirrors. Self is a delusion that I live under. And so they said, how can there possibly be a reincarnation of something that isn't there? Well, that violates, of course, all of what Hindus thought, with the Atman going on to the next life and so on and so on. But it also violated what the Chinese thought. And they said, how can you do this? We got ancestors that we have to worship and honor. And so the whole system in China was built on something radically different, and Theravada didn't fit. But a second wave of Buddhism comes into China and other parts in another 150, 200 years, and it's called Mahayana, the great vehicle. Mahayana because whereas Theravada was practiced within the context of a small sangha, a monastery, a few people could become Buddhists in Theravada tradition by separating from the outside world. Mahayana was there for everybody. It was a Buddhism of the people. Yes, there were some monasteries, but then those monasteries were connected to rituals and practices in the outside community as well. And so, you have a teaching of the elders and the great vehicle, but the great vehicle did something very different here. The great vehicle stressed the idea that there is something that goes from one life to the next. There is a soul of some sort that passes from this world, this body to the next body, and it continues to do so until you reach nirvana. And then Mahayana adds one more piece. Once you reach nirvana, you're done. You're removed from this cycle of rebirth, unless, out of deep compassion for all beings, you take the vow of the Bodhisattva. The Bodhisattva vow says, even though I can check out, I won't. Because the assistance to those who have not yet reached nirvana is more important than my escape. China embraced the Mahayana tradition, and it became very much a part of the weave of China. And from China it begins to spread into Korea and into Japan, comes to Japan about 1500 years ago. And then about 800 years ago, starting about 1175 or so, Japanese Buddhists traveled to China and again brought back different kinds of Buddhism into Japan, so that today Japan, which is one of the most Buddhist countries on the planet, has a whole variety of Buddhisms, from Zen Buddhism to Pure Land Buddhism. Zen is all about just sit down, shut up, and meditate. Pure Land is about a bodhisattva who was there. All you have to do is call his name and he'll guarantee that the next life around he'll put you in a spot where you can attain to nirvana for yourself. And there's the Nichiren tradition, which a lot of people will know here in the United States from Soka Gakkai, which is focused on one particular text, the Lotus Sutra, and the chanting of a single phrase over and over and over and over and over and over again as the vehicle to nirvana. So we get a variety of different Buddhisms that direction. Mahayana also made its way into Tibet about 600-700 years ago, and there in Tibet it becomes Vajrayana, the diamond way. And Vajrayana is based on the meditation of certain characters, like the green Tara. Hold on, I'll show you one of those. Aha, see? You meditate on all of her features, and that's what gets you to where you need to go. A lot of people think of this as Tantric Buddhism. It's not about sexuality, though. It's about understanding the dynamic that's within the physical reality. And so today we have a variety of Buddhisms. The one that's most popular in Japan is actually Pure Land. But the one that took root in the West first was Zen, because it's an intellectual kind of Buddhism. And as Buddhism made its way into England, as Buddhism made its way into the United States, as Buddhism made its way into Canada and Australia and other places like this, it has become more of a philosophical way of approaching life. Whereas in the old world, in those original countries, Buddhism was a way of practice. That'll get us to where we're at today, huh?